Let's be honest. When most people hear about billions of dollars in US military aid going to Ukraine, as they're left with more questions than answers. Where exactly is that money going? What's it being used for? And why is America spending so much on a war happening thousands of miles away? In this video, we're diving deep into the facts, the numbers, as the logistics, and the real strategy behind one of the most debated military support packages in modern history. From rifles and rockets to intelligence, sharing and long-range missiles, the story of US as military aid to Ukraine is about far more than just equipment. It's about politics, geopolitics, deterrence, and the future of how wars are fought. To understand the current situation, we need to look back to February 2022, when Russian forces launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In the months that followed, the United States became Ukraine's largest supporter, not just diplomatically, but militarily. The Biden administration, with bipartisan support from Congress, approved tens of billions in military aid, and that number has only grown. As of mid-2025, total US aid to Ukraine exceeds $100 billion, with a large portion specifically earmarked for weapons, ammunition, and defense systems. But aid is not just money. It includes real assets, everything from Javelin anti-tank missiles to HIMARS rocket launchers, drones, body armor, encrypted radios, radar systems, artillery, shells, helicopters, and even intelligence data, as it also includes training for Ukrainian forces and maintenance support to keep this high-tech equipment operational in a brutal and chaotic battlefield environment. And it's not just a simple matter of writing a check. The aid is broken into packages, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, each tailored to meet Ukraine's evolving needs based on battlefield conditions, Russian strategy, and Ukraine's own military capacity. One of the earliest and most impactful pieces of military aid was the supply of Javelin anti-tank missiles. These shoulder-fired weapons played a key role in Ukraine's defense of Kharkiv, and other cities in the early days of the war. With Russian tanks pouring across the borders, Javelins gave lightly armed Ukrainian infantry units the firepower they needed to take out armored vehicles from a distance. The psychological effect was just as powerful. Russian soldiers began to fear these weapons, knowing they could be targeted even before they were seen. Then came the M777 howitzers, long-range artillery pieces capable of hitting enemy positions with pinpoint accuracy. As these weapons helped Ukraine push back Russian advances in the Donbas and launched counteroffensives that retook key cities and territory. Each artillery system delivered came with thousands of 150 family shells, logistical support, and training for Ukrainian crews. Later, as HIMARS rocket launchers were added to the mix, dramatically changing the range and accuracy of Ukraine's firepower. These systems allowed the Ukrainian army to hit ammunition depots, command posts, and bridges deep behind enemy lines, often with devastating effect. And then there are the drones, as from small commercial quadcopters modified to carry grenades to high-tech surveillance drones that provide real-time intelligence. Unmanned systems have become central to the war effort. The US has supplied Switchblade drones, kamikaze-style systems that loiter over a target area and strike at precise moments, as these tools give Ukrainian troops more flexibility, allowing them to conduct missions that would otherwise be too dangerous or impossible. But it's not just what's being delivered, it's how. Much of the military aid arrives through a combination of US Air Force transport planes, NATO logistics hubs in Poland and Germany, and overland convoys that move equipment across the Ukrainian border. It's a massive logistical operation coordinated by the Pentagon, NATO command centers, and Ukrainian defense officials, as each shipment is carefully monitored to reduce the risk of corruption, diversion, or delays. Though the sheer volume makes complete transparency difficult, many critics ask, how can the US afford this? Or more bluntly, why is the US spending so much on Ukraine when there are problems at home? It's a fair question, and one that deserves a nuanced answer. The US military aid to Ukraine is not purely altruistic. It serves strategic objectives. By helping Ukraine resist Russian aggression, the US is effectively weakening a geopolitical rival without deploying American troops. Every Russian tank destroyed, every missile intercepted, as every battlefield loss Russia suffers reduces its ability to project power elsewhere, including in places like Eastern Europe, as the Middle East, and even cyberspace. It also sends a powerful message to China, North Korea, Iran, and other nations watching closely the US and its allies will defend democratic nations under threat, and they're willing to put resources on the line to do it. There's also the economic aspect. A significant portion of the aid money doesn't leave the US at all. It goes to American arms manufacturers like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics, who produce the weapons. As jobs are created, factories are kept running, and the military-industrial complex remains energized. Even more important is the intelligence exchange. As part of this aid relationship, the US gains real-time battlefield data about how its weapons perform in actual combat against Russian forces. This is priceless for defense analysts, military planners, and weapons developers. The war in Ukraine has become a proving ground for new tactics, drone warfare, electronic countermeasures, and AI-based targeting systems, many of which the US will study and adapt for its own defense in the years ahead. Let's also not forget training. Since 2014, after Russia annexed Crimea, the US has quietly trained tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers. That training intensified after the 2022 invasion, with elite Ukrainian units now receiving advanced instruction from US and NATO forces. These programs focus not just on how to operate US weapons, but also on leadership, strategy, medical response, and even cyber defense, as it's an investment in building a modern, capable military that can stand on its own long after the war ends. Now, where exactly is this aid going within Ukraine? That depends. Some shipments go directly to frontline units, infantry brigades, as artillery units, air defense teams. Others are held in depots to supply future offensives or rebuild losses. Some aid is distributed to territorial defense units, citizen soldiers defending their towns and cities. In many cases, as weapons are assigned to specific missions, a HIMARS system to destroy a Russian supply depot, night vision gear to support a sabotage operation, or radar systems to protect a critical airfield. Every delivery is part of a broader operational plan coordinated between Kyiv and its allies.